I am stuck in the party to represent me, so I guess I have to represent myself. And that's how I ended up on this stage today. So I want to thank you guys for having me. Thank you to the League of Women's Voters and Mr. Gross. It was a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to ask again that you hold your applause to the end. Okay, we're going to start with some questions that were formulated by Churches Together, members of Churches Together for Justice, and whatever, I guess, audience questions, I will start putting those in here too. So our first question is, first a statement, kindness and justice for all are two of the values integral to the work of our churches. Given the divisiveness in today's world, what are the most important things you will do to bring kindness and justice for all through the Office of Attorney General? I'm going to ask Mr. Gross.
Sure. No, it's an important question. I think, look, there's so many folks around the state of Missouri who do not know who their Attorney General is. There are folks who have no idea who this guy here who's not even showing up today is. And I think that's such a big problem because it's so hard for us to build community when you have somebody who doesn't even want to work for you. So we've been traveling a whole lot. I've had this truck for a little bit over a year, made right here in Missouri, and we've got 55,000 miles on this thing because it's so important for us to meet with folks and to make sure that they're being heard. And that doesn't just mean Democrats. I mean, I'm running as a Democrat, but I've got support from folks who run Trump headquarters in Warsaw, Missouri, because it's so important. And I think, what your point was is exactly right. There's so many people who feel like, and they have been, left behind by our government. And we need folks in our government who want to include all of us. So as Attorney General, I will make sure that your communities are heard, that you know who your Attorney General is, that you have direct input in that office, because that's what you deserve to have. And I think that will make us a much kinder and more understanding society overall.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Monroe.
I think that justice is an interesting term when it comes to the court system. They stand for justice, they're supposed to apply justice, but really they're answering systems. They are rooms where you present evidence in a very specific way to a very specific person who makes a very specific rendering. They give an answer, and we hope that it's just. But justice really means an equal application across all socioeconomic backgrounds. Again, no matter who you are, it applies equally to everyone. Rich, poor, male, female, however it comes out, all the laws apply equally. And I think that really is what the Attorney General's office should be doing, is making sure that when it comes down to defending Missourians against scammers, one of Mr. Gross's big points, it should be defending all Missourians, not just the high publicity, not just the ones that get you into the Republican or the Democratic or Libertarian newsletter. Everyone, regardless of who they are, because they live in this state.
This is a related question, and I'm going to start with you, Mr. Monroe, so you can probably follow up a little bit on this. How will you ensure justice for all when the Missouri legislature continues to suppress the freedoms of large numbers of Missourians? Among others, examples of these freedoms would include voting rights, reproductive freedom, and LGBTQ rights, especially those of trans people.
In 30 seconds? Okay. I don't believe government should be in a lot of areas of our life. Most importantly, our doctor's office. Where do we draw the limit of government? And that's really an important distinction, I think, between the Democrats and the Libertarians, or maybe not, but certainly between where I stand. And I don't think that the wheels of government should be involved in the private lives of our citizens. If a doctor and a person wants to make a personal decision about their private health care, then they should be free to do so. And I've never met a politician yet that's smarter than a doctor. So I don't know why they should be making doctor decisions. Most of them have law degrees. You don't want me dispensing medicine, I promise you. And I don't want them deciding about your medical care. Certainly amongst, I don't know what the other issues were that were mentioned there, but I have only 30 seconds, so that's the best I can get to.
Okay, Mr. Gross?
Yeah, look, I agree. I'm a small government guy, and we live at a time in Missouri where our government is abusing its power so much, and they're trying to tell families how to live their lives. As Attorney General, I will start Missouri's first fully staffed civil rights division to protect our civil liberties from an abusive government. We need that. We need that here in Missouri. Most other states have one, and Missouri still doesn't. So that will certainly deal with a lot of these issues, but we just had an Attorney General who tried to take away our right to vote, who tried to block us from using the initiative petition process that we have a right to as Missourians, and I will certainly uphold those rights here in Missouri.
This will go to Mr. Gross. This is like flip-flop questions here with just two candidates, but what brought you to the decision to run for Attorney General? And they are asking this question because in the past, the Attorney General's office has brought lawsuits on behalf of the state that neither relate directly to Missouri or sometimes more obviously seem to be brought for personal political gain.
Well, not just the past, it's happening right now. We're not going to do that. Look, I'm running because I work there. I fell in love with that office because we had so many folks who could have made so much more money working somewhere else, and they chose to serve the people of Missouri. And there's so much the Attorney General's office can do. It breaks my heart that people have no idea who our Attorney General or what our Attorney General's office can do for us. So, no, certainly I intend to get that office working for us again, and it's about time we stop wasting crap on these bad lawsuits. I mean, they're terrible lawsuits, and we need real leadership in an office to change that. So, no, I'm running because, look, I know what the power of that office can do. I've worked with kids for a long time here throughout the state. I think they deserve a better future. They deserve real leadership that looks forward to saying, how can we make sure kids have real opportunity in the state of Missouri? And I think that if we come with that same lens of how do we serve all Missourians, how does our Attorney General become our attorney, that's how we get real results in that office.
Thank you.
Well, let's see. I got asked, and I tend to find that I end up in the right spot. Don't know why. I ended up in law school because the job I was working, which was a manual labor job, it was in a family business, was going away. And I was given the choice, which a lot of people don't get that choice, but I was given the choice of, do you want to try and retool or go down with the ship? I retooled. I went to law school, like my mother told me I should have done 10 years prior. Don't anybody tell her, and don't anybody send a link to her, please. She loves it when I say she was right, and she was. But I find myself sitting here today because I said yes. I said, yes, I'll do it. Partially because I had a lot of these conversations sitting on my screen-in porch out back of my house. And all of a sudden someone said, we know a guy with a bar degree that will help us keep access to the ballot. Having 3 parties on that ballot is so important, you guys. You cannot believe we have had 2 supermajorities in the last 30 years, and neither of them have gotten us anywhere. And everybody says throwing away your vote on the Libertarian ticket is throwing away your vote. Maybe it's time to throw away your vote and tell both parties that it's not okay what they're doing to us anymore. And that's why I sit here today.
Thank you very much. Missouri's Attorney General serves as the chair of the Governor's Crime Commission. As such, what is your view of the school-to-prison pipeline? And what will you do as Attorney General to mitigate or begin to solve this racially institutionalized problem? And so, Mr. Monroe. This is a question about the school-to-prison pipeline. What would you do as Attorney General to mitigate or try to solve this racially institutionalized problem?
Thank you. I don't know if I can answer that question specifically, but I can tell you one of the areas that I have been very serious about promoting as Attorney General is making sure that we are operating at a higher level than the bare minimum standards of the ethics for lawyers. And part of that means that one of the rules that Missouri has not put into place that I would immediately make sure we are following is Model Rule 3.8. And what that stands for is if there's an innocent man in jail or you come to find that there is evidence, that the prosecutors have to actually go and start defending that person to get him out of jail. I don't know why Missouri hasn't enacted that. But that's going to be the first thing I tell everybody is that we don't operate at the minimum standard. Just like at my law office, we don't operate at the minimum. We operate at the maximum for our clients. And if Missouri is my client, I will operate at the maximum, and everybody underneath me will be expected to do the same.
Okay, Mr. Gross?
Yeah, well, one, I agree with this. Two, when we're talking about violence in our communities, I was on a task force that was called the School to Prison Pipeline Task Force, changed to Keep Kids in Class, if I'm getting that right now. Don't yell at me if I didn't. But it's about making sure, that there are folks who look at the numbers of kids in 3rd and 4th grade and reading levels and then decide about prison construction. Maybe we should just educate our kids. Maybe we should start doing that. I think that the Attorney General should be an advocate for the people of Missouri too. I think we need to start talking about our education system. We need to have a real plan to deal with violence in our communities. We need to have one that's more than just prosecutions are important, law enforcement is important, but by the time somebody makes that decision, someone has been hurt, someone has been killed, a family's been torn apart. We need prevention too, and that should be coming from a coordinated effort at the Attorney General's office. So I certainly intend to work with a lot of kids like I have throughout my career, but to make sure that our communities are involved in the process of rebuilding our communities all throughout the state. And I think that's a really important part of that too.
Thank you. This is somewhat related to that. When or would you intervene to stop executions that have gone through the courts, execution orders that have gone through the courts, with filings by groups like the Innocence Project? So, Mr. Gross, you get to start that one.
Yeah, so I mean, we had Sandra Hemme, who was in prison for 43 years for a crime that she didn't commit, and our Attorney General opposed releasing her. We had Christopher Dunn, who was in prison for 34 years for a crime a judge 4 years ago said he shouldn't be there. And our Attorney General in both cases called the prison warden and told him to ignore court order so that they would stay locked up. And we're paying for that. So no, we're not going to be doing that anymore. We're going to have a civil rights division that makes sure that people are not being abused by their government. That's why we need one. That's why I talk about it so often. So look, I think the Innocence Project are doing a lot of good work. We've had other states that have worked with them from the Attorney General's office to actually make sure, just like you said, that folks who are in prison should be there and folks who shouldn't should be out. And I mean, it's that simple. And I don't understand why this guy has decided differently. And he's doing that with our money. If there's no other reason, that should be reason enough to change who our Attorney General is right now.
Ditto. I'm totally getting it. I agree with almost everything he said. The one thing I really don't agree with is that following the same